Welcome to Slayerfest 98. I'm Ian Carlos Crawford.
I'm Ashley K. Smalls, and today we have Twitch streamer and internet person.
Oh, Joe Organa?
Hi, Joe.
Hi, Joe.
Hi.
And we also have author and internet person.
Cab Alexa.
Hi, Gabby. Um, I'm happy to have all of you here. I am really psyched to discuss this episode because I fucking loved it. Gabby, what did you think overall of this episode?
So I said last week was my favorite episode, but this one takes it easily. I didn't expect that the Lilia like weird quirkiness was gonna pay off like this. So to have it actually pay off, we're not familiar with that watching Marvel shows that much. That was so nice. What? Couldn't believe it.
Yeah. Ashley, what do you think?
Yeah, I would have to say just like the overall character arc. It's like one of those things where, I mean, I guess you maybe make peace a little bit more with it when it's a limited series of losing characters because it's like, well, we're not coming back here anyways.
Right.
But even if it was a show that was coming back, it's like it's hard to say goodbye to characters, but to have a character have a, fully fleshed out story
Yeah.
in such a short series, such a short show, like that's just as Gabby said, it's become seldom, especially with Marvel shows. I would honestly even extend that to just say, just in general nowadays, especially with limited series and shows that don't make it past season one. So it's like, damn, it's like as hard as it is to say goodbye, it's like I'm kind of not happy to lose her, but it's also like to see that all where it led
Yeah.
to. It's like shit. It's hard to say goodbye, but damn, did you get a great story? So it's like
Yeah.
it worked really well. So yeah, I liked it.
Yeah. Joe, what do you think?
Yeah, no, it was incredible. It felt like a fully fleshed out movie almost. Like it was so mind-bending the way they told the story and the way they harkened back to previous episodes and previous clues that we were all wondering about. It felt so satisfying. It felt so like the acting in this episode was so incredible and on everyone's part. And it was definitely my favorite episode so far.
Yeah. It's like you, Gabby. It's like I'm like, oh no, this week's my favorite. Oh no, this week. But like this one, I like it's wild that like I mean I like all the characters. I think they're all like pretty great, like well-rounded characters. But if you had told me the start of the series, Patty LuPone would give me my favorite episode of the show, I'd be like, I
I
don't
wouldn't
know.
have believed you. Yeah, I didn't expect this at all. But I am original, and I do think that they're all coming back to life in the next two episodes.
You do. I
I
that's
mean, it's a possibility. I mean, isn't the whole point supposed to be to get something at the end of the road? What happens if their wants changes and it ends up being like, I want my damn
I want
coming back?
coming, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we
uh,
see them all growing together so much, and they keep making a point to talk about to show that scene where Lilia says we all sort of hated each other at the beginning, and now look at us, you know. And I think at the end, it's really going to show Agatha's redemption arc at the end, probably saving maybe Jen because we see how these episodes are going. Maybe something's happening to Jen,
mm,
and I want to talk about this later. I don't want to get into it too much, but Jen's character arc this episode is also something I don't think we can, pass by without mentioning because we see her grow so much as character this episode too.
I was so glad that we didn't have them just being like she was like genuinely taking care of Lilia. Like she realized, oh, this is like an older lady that like like, no matter which, even if you thought it was like a prophecy or whatever, it's like, oh, like she does need a little bit of like kindness. And I loved
Yes.
seeing Jen recognize that. Jen has low-key become one of my favorites. Jen
Yeah.
and Lilia were becoming my favorites anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think they're both really great.
Mhm.
Um,
I already saw all of like the tarot cards and all of the apparel and stuff, and I'd like looked at a bunch of merch sites. So I knew what tarot card was supposed to apply to each person, but I really was like, wow, like Jen became the high priestess that episode. I like
yes.
didn't see it up until this episode, and now I'm like, wow, I get it now.
Gabby, that you bring up a really good point because so much of this show, it's like you kind of knew, but it's still like, oh fuck, when it happens. Because you're right, like we kind of knew that, but even still, like explicitly seeing it, I was like, as if I didn't know. Like,
Right. I also knew the death reveal. Thanks, Funko Pop.
yep,
But
yep.
it was so cool to see. And especially because she got the whole like comic accurate face
I did
and
not think we would get that.
right. And I loved when Agatha was like, I love the bad boys, period.
There's so much in this show, but in this episode that I definitely did not think we would get. And one of them is that, like, I kind of thought Rio, I mean, we knew she was going to be death because of the Funko Pop. Joe, Ashley, did you both see that spoiler?
I
did not see the
did.
spoiler.
But I also, it wasn't much of a spoiler for me because I had already figured in terms of, I mean, Wiccan was the worst kept secret ever, and then
Right.
Death just made sense.
But they gaslit us. I started to be like, is he Wiccan for a bit there, or is he Nicholas Scratch? Like, what are they doing? I did
the only reason why I wasn't convinced he was Nicholas Scratch is literally because of the Salem 7. I was like, it doesn't. Yeah, so that was the only reason it just made the most sense. The Rio thing, I have gotten thrown off in terms of what are they doing, but in terms of the characters, like I did have it spoiled, but it also wasn't like it wasn't like some of the other spoilers that I've come across from Marvel, where it's like, bitch, I really did not see that coming. Like, I know you lying to me, and then it turns out that they're not lying to me. So,
yeah, that's
Multiverse of Madness. So yeah,
like literally, with Multiverse of Madness is what I was talking about. Like there were spoilers for that, and I was like, nah, this got to be something else. And then we got in. I was like, oh shit.
Ashley, I think I've told you this story. I think I told it on the podcast, but I literally spoiled Multiverse of Madness for a coworker who was like the coworker that was like the person I talked Marvel shit with, because I was like, I saw the stupidest spoiler for Multiverse of Madness that Black Bolt comes back and him and Professor Xavier get killed by Wanda, as if that's gonna fucking happen. And then we saw the movie and I was like,
no.
oh, I did spoil that.
I'm an Inhumans stan. I loved that show. So they did that just for me, bringing Black Bolt back. And
it really was just for you then.
I was like, no way they're bringing him back. No one fucking likes Black Bolt. And then
I think he was very well casted for Black Bolt, but I don't like. I think Kevin Feige's made it very clear he does not like Inhumans. Considering Kamala Khan's like the most famous. Well, let me not say that, but one of the more famous ones, and they were like, "No, we're making her a mutant. Let that idea go now." It's like, oh, yeah, all right, you got it.
Yeah. So we open this episode kind of on two things. We open the first scene is Lilia like falling in slow motion, which immediately I was like, oh shit, is this episode gonna make me cry? Spoiler, it did. I hate doing a stupid reaction when I'm crying, but usually they do better. But I'm like, man, now I'm crying on camera. God damn it. Like the first like bit of it was me being like, oh, is this episode gonna make me cry? And then the end of the video is me crying. Because I'm a sucker for like, I don't know, like a well done slow motion, and the like look on her face, and like she's like dressed as Linda, and like she kind of was. I feel like from the start, she was always the like her and Alice maybe were the ones that were kind of more not as standoffish. Like she was kind of like, all right, this is what we're doing. Like more so than a lot of the rest of them. So it's like she was the one that was kind of on board, and she seemed a little bit more like explicitly worried about teen. Like she was more like, what's the kid doing? So that like made me emotional. But then we cut to I do we still call him teen?
Actually, he's a teenager in this episode.
They were like, not his full name. But we can see the transformation starting to happen because I'm sorry, I'm so tempted to just say Patty LuPone. This is what happens when you get big time actresses. It's the opposite effect, because it's like I see the face and I'm like, she's the one character I call, but I don't even call Catherine Hahn Catherine. I say Agatha, but when it comes down to Patty, I'm like, as Patty LuPone, we need to be very grateful to have in this show.
Right.
But she goes back and forth between literally saying teenager and then calling him Billy. So we start to see this, transformation into like what's going to be the final episodes of him finally being called his name.
And he does seem to be more confident.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I'm sorry, Gabby, what were you saying?
Oh, I said I didn't even notice that. I love that. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because when she's lucid, I'm sorry if I'm just gonna call her Patty, but when she's lucid, Patty tells Jen, like, I need you to, remember everything I tell you because I'm gonna forget in a minute. And when Jen is like, what the hell happened to us? And she's like, we got blasted by the Scarlet Witch's son. Billy's gonna blah 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 blah. And I'm like, oh, so she knows. She knows the whole thing. Okay, cool.
Yeah. So we then cut to Agatha and Billy. did we all like I love the like want a straight answer, ask a straight woman. Like
I
I
loved it just as much as I loved not me going back into the closet or whatever you call
Yeah,
it.
I was literally thinking of that. The lines, the script that they found a really great way to. I don't want to go as far as saying making the show queer, but as much as possible with who they're dealing with. It's like, I mean, we've quite literally, even with I know we hate bringing up Love and Thunder, but even with that so-called, um, this is pushed the limits. Wait, which I'm not. Please don't take what I'm saying like, oh my God, oh my goodness, Disney. Like, please, I'm really. This is more so overly criticizing them because it's just like this is, um, but it's like as far as what we've gotten from all this, I mean, this has been even more queer than let me not say that. People are going to get upset if I say that. But I'm like, let me not. But like, they've found a really great way to intertwine in the dialogue and the script. I literally, in that moment when she goes, you should get a straight woman, literally reminded me of the scene as Gab was saying of a teen getting in the closet. I don't want to go back in the closet. It's like, these scenes where it's like, if you're so determined to never see gay media, it might go over your head if you're
yeah.
just really determined to act like it's never happening. But for those of us who see it everywhere, like who've been seeing it since Winter Soldier, like we're not missing it at all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's what I was thinking. Like, I'm surprised. I mean, I'm sure somewhere in some boardroom they're like, the witch show. I don't care about the witches. It's not Captain America. Do whatever.
I mean, yeah. That is another thing, is that also I'm sure on some level the Marvel executives who lose their shit if two women hold hands are probably also thinking like the audience who we're usually scared of ever criticizing us, they're not tuning into this. So like, do whatever you want, just don't get us banned in China. Like, like that's
yeah. But like, even so, I'm surprised. Like, I want them to. I feel like I've seen this on Twitter a lot. I really do want Jack Schaefer to like do all of the like witch shit. Like, I think she's so good at it. She handles these characters with care and like is able to like shit all of us would say it casually that is not a big deal, like him making the "don't put me back in the closet" joke. Like, he's like doing a bit, and like that's shit that like I would not have expected from Marvel, because we don't usually get casual queerness. And it's wild to be like, oh, their like queerest show is also really casual. They're not like telegraphing like, look, it's gay, like, or bless her heart, she meant well, but like Natalie Portman on Love and Thunder tour, where she's like, this is the gayest Marvel movie. And it was like, where?
It was Natalie Portman who said that? Yikes.
Yeah.
To be fair, it is entirely possible that what they filmed was, but yeah, she did. And we prepared ourselves and we went and we saw. And if I'm gonna be real with you, I'm honestly happy it wasn't, because it was such a bad movie. It would have, if they had made it gay, you just know people would have been like, well, clearly it's terrible because they let two men kiss. And it's
that's
like,
why, yeah.
I think it might be because of the floating head that looked like it was made in Photoshop.
Yeah.
Right. I'm almost critical now. You're right.
You bring up Love and Thunder. Also, I don't know if any of you saw this. I just remembered I saw this last night when I was stoned, and I was like, take note of this for the podcast recording tomorrow, and I forgot until just now. I saw someone post a screenshot from Love and Thunder that was like, and it's like 3 out of the whatever have been in the, and I was like, I don't know what they're talking about. Explain that to me.
The Living Tribunal we've seen in a movie already. We've seen Eternity now in Thor: Love and Thunder.
Oh,
right? We've seen Death now. We've seen the Watcher in What If, and we saw like Watchers in like, was it Dark World?
One of the, I think, Guardians of the Galaxy, when they're zipping through.
Oh.
Yeah.
So we've seen like X of the entities that they showed in that like stone room or whatever when they were on their way to Eternity.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna like look this up later, and then just it fully left my brain.
I thought that was really cool, because when I saw like that stone room, I was like, there's no way Marvel is paying off this Easter egg.
I would have never.
And now I'm like, oh, I guess they are. Who fucking knew?
I don't even remember what that room was. Like I remember the room, but I don't remember like context.
It's like the chamber where they access eternity. So there was like a
Yeah.
random fight with the kids in there before
Yeah,
they.
that was the fight with the kids.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay. That makes more sense. Yeah, we also get this is like totally Marvel being like you can't land one way when Joe Luck asks her like, is Wanda Maximoff alive? And she's like, no, she's dead. Well, maybe. I don't know. Tee hee, and kind
Yeah.
of like giggles at her.
I love that because then he goes, "Did you see a body?" And it was so like audience proxy to say.
Yes.
I loved it.
Yeah.
No, I really did like that. I mean, I do think Joe Luck and Catherine Hahn, I feel like I've said this every episode, like do have really good chemistry. Like as actors, they are like really well paired. I mean, the whole cast is, I feel like you can almost tell how much fun they all had, right? Where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
these are people that like each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love how, I mean, this is the last episode, but when she's like, "Do you want to poke the bear?" And he's like so clearly trying not to break.
Yes.
I've watched it a million times. I love that scene.
Joe, what were you say?
Oh, nothing. I was just gonna say that all the actors in this show are so perfectly cast that, like you were saying, they all feel like they have such different energies, but it works perfectly for the characters.
Yeah.
Because the characters have such different energies, and but they really do come together to create like such a balanced coven.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
they hit all those different areas that a group of adventurers needs. Like you don't want to see a harmonious group of adventurers, and so this wide range of actors really works perfectly.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I love an ensemble too. So
Yeah.
sorry, Gabby.
I was going to say, particularly in this episode, though, they stress the importance of the coven. And I mean,
Yes.
and Lilia was so isolated her whole life, and she finally embraces the coven by the end of the episode. So I was kind of like, so is the coven coming back? What do you mean? Because we killed like 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, and all of these characters were really very isolated. Like, Agatha, obviously very isolated in her own fantasy world. Jen was isolated in her little scam witch shop that she was selling, homemade potions to because she didn't have her powers. Lilia, obviously. Alice was kind of hiding in what was it, a hot topic that she was.
Yeah.
So they were all super isolated. So I think this whole story is about coming together, needing other people. So, that idea of the coven, and I think that's where this is ultimately going to end up.
So I'm only talking to you, Gabby, because Ashley's tired of hearing this and Joe has not watched it. Isn't that very Buffy, Gabby?
Which thing?
The like having all these like they have to work together to do the thing, and like that just feels very like. And Jack Schaefer said Buffy was one of her influences, and it feels very like that because
It
it's
feels
like
like that. Have you
yeah.
seen the movie Timer? Also
No.
by Jack.
The one that Emma Caulfield's in?
Exactly, yes.
Jack Schaefer did that movie? I didn't know that.
Yes! Exactly. So like it feels like, oh, we're coming back home. Like it's like the same, it has like a lot of the same themes. You can see the influences, and it just feels like, oh, we're back with our friends. I love that.
Yeah.
And Timer is one of my favorite Netflix movies. So it used to be Netflix. I don't know who owns it now.
I still haven't seen it, but I've always meant to see it. And everyone who's seen it has been like, no, Ian, you love it. I know.
But Emma's in it. That's wild. I just
know.
expected you would have seen it. Wow.
I'm a fake fan. So they stumble upon a castle. They become this is where it's like I love that we're still doing the bit of the outfits because we don't really need it, but I love it. It's just like fun, right?
Well, that's what I'm afraid of because people have theorized, right, that the outfits and the fact that it's always Billy starting each trial, that it represents that like the Witch's Road is like a hex of Billy's creation. And in this episode, we see a train station, which was mentioned in like episode 1 or 2 or whatever by Miss Hart. What's her
Wait,
name?
really?
Sharon.
Oh, right. You're right. She says the under right.
So now I'm like, is this actually the Witch's Road or is it fake? Because I would be really disappointed if it was a hex. I want it to be the Witch's Road. So I'm like trying to understand the connection to Billy for all of these. And like the outfits kind of participate in that whole theory.
I didn't even think about that.
Oh my God.
I also don't like that. I don't want that to be the thing that
I
happens.
don't like that.
I'm worried that it's gonna happen now with
I know.
the train station. That makes so much sense. Like that they're actually in the train station underground, like an abandoned one or something, walking around.
Huh. Because I was,
Oh.
it's funny that you pointed that out because I was like, that's a weird visual. I guess it's just like cool. And it's like, that's how they get out. And it just looks cool. But that makes, damn it. Yeah. Huh. Ashley, what do you think? Do you think it's like they're really there?
I don't know because last time I made a theory on this, I was 100% wrong. So I was so off, and I was like, "Oh well, shit." So I don't. I don't really know. I mean, it would be a little off considering like what Teen was fighting, well, not really fighting, but getting chased by the Salem Seven when the road opened and stuff like that. Could it be? Sure. It seems a little advanced for his powers now.
Yeah.
That not impossible, but I mean, for someone whose powers tapped out when I don't know. So I was so off with the last theory I made. I was like, all right, bitch, fine. I'll just like fuck it, just because you're not about to WandaVision me 2 times. Like I'm not doing this shit no more. I think where I'm at with it is like, how many episodes are there now? Like, how many do we have left?
Two.
Two. Are they showing both
Yeah.
next week?
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay, that's why I was confused. Okay, because I'm like, from the context clues that we've gotten from Lilia's arc is so this next trial would be the Green Witch's trial, right?
Yeah.
We thought that the Green Witch was who they would be summoning, which was Death, which is Rio. But we know that, okay, so it's looking like that Black Heart was actually maybe Teen. I was always on the fence about if he was really part of the Coven or not because of the way that he was being affected in these trials. That's why I was side-eyeing him a couple episodes ago because I'm like, we know he's Wiccan. We know he has his mom's powers. He can be doing things not knowing that he's doing them, blah, blah, blah. So I don't know, But with that being said, that means if the next trial is going to be it's going to be for the Green Witch, that means it's either going to be for Rio or it's going to be for Teen. My thing is, if Rio's death, could it be possible that Teen's trial will involve her because in a way, Teen escaped death. In that, as Billy, he attached himself to someone else's body. And then the person who
I hadn't even thought about that, Ashley, but that makes sense.
And then also both Billy, the entity, sort of escaped death, but then it's like you weren't really a person, but you are because Wanda can create people. But then also this body that originally belonged to
William.
William. There we go. Yeah. Thank you. So it's like, all right, that could be one thing, okay. And then on that same regard, Patty LuPone's character told Agatha, when she calls you a coward, hit the deck. So it feels like the big bad. You know how Marvel does with their shows. Every last episode has the big bad battle fight. We get that in every show. Feels like it would be those two against each other, and it looks like Patty was giving Agatha the key on how to win that fight.
Yeah.
Would it be that Agatha? I mean, Agatha on some level, even if it is as sort of an anti-hero, has been protecting Teen. Could it be that she ends up in this fight trying to protect him, and that's what this is? And then last but not least, the last puzzle that we have here still is Jin was identified as the High Priestess. What does that mean in all of this as well? That usually means that, like, we know not only was she identified as the High Priestess, she was also identified as the path ahead. Sort of going back to what we were saying like a couple minutes ago about like we kind of maybe have this gut feeling it's possible these characters might come back. Is she how that happens with whatever it is that she wants at the end of the road, since we know Agatha and Teen got their own thing going on, and a High Priestess is usually the leader of a coven, so would she be the path ahead for how this coven comes back together, or is she the path ahead for something completely different, something else that's happening here? So it's just like it's literally like when you're trying to put a puzzle together and you have all these pieces and they're supposed to fit somehow, some way, and you just don't know what that missing link is. So that being said, with the missing pieces that I do see, if I was to guess, I don't think that this would be a figment of, I shouldn't say a figment of Wiccan's imagination. I don't think it's his powers. That's not to say I don't think it's the powers, so that it's some effect here and he hasn't known it, because we kind of saw that in his little episode-based thing, because like he was linked to all these Coven members, but they didn't know. So yeah, those are all, that's all what I, even like when you guys see me going down, it's me Googling what the hell high priestess and stuff like that is. It's literally me like, what the fuck does this mean? I don't know. So yeah, those are all my thoughts. So
I think Ashley makes a lot of really good points. I think also Billy didn't know he was Billy when they went down into the Witch's Road, so I don't think it could be part of his power because he was still under the sigil. But something she touched on that was interesting to me was the idea of death coming after. I think you talked about this a little bit. Billy, because he's in William's body. Yeah. Because wasn't there something mentioned about not being able to inhabit a dead body in the
multiverse
You're right,
of madness? Could that be something linking this story to the multiverse of madness and Wanda's story? It's possible.
Or that thread to pull. Yeah, I love that.
I love that too, and I think that that's such like a creepy aspect to this, and it is a very Halloween-centric show. They're kind of focusing it that way. So I think Ashley made some incredible points, like about 8 or 9 in there. So I can't pull out them all.
I'd like, because I'm happy as Nick. Like I was like, look, this is all that I have. Can somebody out there, can y'all start connecting it? This is what I got. This I didn't even real clock the multiverse of madness thing. See, I knew if I just started saying everything that somebody was gonna put. Somebody out there was gonna do it.
Even more specifically, Ashley, like you're like, it's like we have a puzzle. It's almost like we have a puzzle and we've done everything but the clouds in the sky. And it's like, oh shit, this is all like, it all fits here. It's just like, I don't really know where it goes. It's like when you have like, or like the wooded area. I haven't done a puzzle in a long time. That's what it feels like. It's like you do have it all. You kind of know where it's going because we have the finale next week. So it all has to come to a head. But yeah. Huh. Now but I buy your death thing. I think maybe she's coming after him because it's like that body should be dead.
Because it's like at this point, because like when she said when Patty Zapone character said, when she said calls you a coward, hit the like this, like if it's the season finale, those are the only players that we still have here. We have Death, we got High Priestess, we got Jen, excuse me, and we have Agatha, we have Wiccan. Those are the main players that we still have here. So it's obviously only because we just watched the Salem 7 drop dead. So like that's
or
it.
Because we only saw 5 hit the deck.
Yeah.
Okay.
I did see someone say that on Twitter.
I counted it. Okay. I counted it. I watched it because I was confused. I was like, wasn't one just a bird? Why is she fallen? And so I went back and watched it, and it's like very specifically they hit one by one, and it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there could be 2 left. I don't know.
Okay. So that makes sense. So, but
that's a lot of little threads, right, that are left over then.
There's so many.
Yeah.
But also, one more thing, back to the body thing. When Aubrey Plaza Rio says, I want my bodies, that's like, she's not saying souls. She could be specifically after Billy's body.
That's true.
Like, why would they use that verbiage? It's maybe Ashley's working me into a conspiracy theory. I feel like Charlie pointing at the wall right now. But
I mean, and that's quite literally what Schaefer does to me, because like we were in this exact same position with WandaVision. Like this was literally me. I was that gif from It's Always Sunny of him like it's the whole thing. Literally every week that was me. Like if you put the pieces together, I don't know how, but and here we are doing it all.
And she's good at that shit. I think she may be better than a lot of like, we can like. We're all like big nerds here. So it's like, you still like theorize about, what they're going to do. But a lot of the shit is more straightforward than a lot of the theories usually are. But it feels like WandaVision and this both are not as straightforward in like the best way, right? Where it's like, well, it could take this turn or it could take this turn. Like, who knows what this reveal is going to be. And like this, especially this show has felt like since maybe episode 3, we've gotten like big moment after big moment after reveal after reveal. Like, what's that Lady Gaga meme where she's like, limousine, club, another club? Like, it feels like that's like what we've been getting with this show. Because I keep, like, every episode, I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe this happened. And then it's like I'm saying the exact same thing next week.
Yeah. And how rich that none of these huge reveals are Wanda related. We're like, I mean, Wiccan being her son, but they're not like Wanda's back. And I think that's really fun. And like of all of the theories we've discussed so far, no one's even like, and maybe Wanda will come back. Like we get to just enjoy the capsule of this show. I love that so much.
The limited series, I can also see them not trying to like, which, you know, thank God, that's great. And it's like, I know that when this show got the green light, it was more so from the WandaVision hype.
Yeah.
And I'm very happy that we strayed away from it instead of just like, let's, you know, not mess with a formula that worked 2-3 years ago. That was my worry with the show. I was like, loved WandaVision, but also given, you know, the past few years of a rough patch as a Marvel fan, it's like, I hope it's something a bit fresh, but they were able to keep the things, the aspects that we like, the theme of WandaVision that I liked, which was being able, even if I was wrong 99.9% of the time, the theme of like what is happening without having to like, let's, you know, it feels like multiverse of madness, ironically, which did have Wanda in it, fell into that trap. Let's pull a bunch of characters we know they like and put them in here. And it's like, it's exciting in the moment, but then it's also like when the movie's over, you know, it's like, I don't, you know, I have a bunch of movies I can go back to see Patrick Stewart in that I enjoyed a lot more. So it's just like, I am kind of grateful for that. Plus, I think, you know, for the Wanda fans who do tune into this, I would personally prefer her big reveal whenever it happens to be something that we don't see coming instead of like the spinoff to the show that she was in. And, you know, it's like, let it, if it ever does happen again, which I'm pretty sure it will, that's the reason why they're keeping it up in the air. They want the possibility whenever it happens. Let it be something that just happens like out of nowhere. That'll make it more fun. Like that literally with Deadpool and Wolverine. Like even though I saw some rumors about Elektra being in the movie, I really didn't believe it. I was like, that seems a little out of nowhere, but that made that shit more fun. I didn't know they was gonna get Channing Tatum's Gambit. Like, oh shit, I didn't even know and that ended up being the moment. So like let it, we don't need everything to
I like wouldn't mind because it's a spinoff. I wouldn't mind if like we get a like bloop from Wanda if it's like a flashback or something. But yeah, I don't need it to be like about her because and this cast is so strong that it's not like and this is no offense. I love Wanda, but I don't feel like we're missing her, right? Like it's not like, oh, I'm just like waiting, sitting through all these other characters so I can see Wanda who I love. It's like, no, I love all these characters and I'm enjoying sitting through this. Like sometimes with like you said, Ashley, if it's like a fun surprise that you're not sitting there waiting for, it's more fun. It's way more fun if you're not waiting for the thing.
I will say also, I was a little thrown off with the whole she's not my mom thing. Like I get why they tried to do that. And like it's comic book, like it's I think what threw me off is just that we had this whole episode on him where he seemed so detached from his from William's family. And so it's like, if you see this as your family, because it was like he seemed very determined to the Westview family that he had. So I was just, that's what just threw me off. So it's like, I don't understand how you feel detached from Wanda, but you're on this journey to find your brother. It's like, it would be one thing if it, it would be one thing if it was like, nope, this is my family now, and I don't need, this, I don't need Wanda because I have this. It's like, which one? I could almost understand the detachment from Vision, but like, I don't understand that. Like, I needed a little bit more there on why he feels that way.
I do think it's like, it's a little unclear there. Like that whole, I'm like, no, I couldn't tell you because it's like, well, no, he identifies more with William. And then it's like, well, but why? William's dead. This is like Billy's soul went. Again, not to relate it back to Buffy again, but I'm going to relate it back to Buffy. Oh. Right. But Gabby, right. That's where sometimes a vampire shit got a little bit where it's like, okay, but that guy's nice and he doesn't have a soul, but this guy does have, it's like, what does that actually mean? That can get a little.
What it felt like that they're setting up for next episode is like this arc where, because Billy's like, am I Billy or William? And he doesn't have his memories. And then I know from the trailer that there's like a scene where like Catherine Hahn is like touching his head, which almost like signals like enlightenment or like receiving information. So like I wonder if he's going to integrate both of those personalities. And so then him saying like, oh, that's not my mom, is just to show how rooted in like the the William Kaplan persona he is right now, and then how he will integrate Billy fully into that.
I now I think yes. I think that is correct. Yeah.
I was thinking only because it doesn't make sense any other way. I don't get it.
Yeah, because how would we differentiate?
He's only been with them 3 years, and
Right.
he's like, "That's my real family."
Right.
But he didn't have any of Billy's memories. So he's
Yeah.
still just finding out about Billy. So I understand maybe why he's confused, but why does he have this like strong feeling so far as he's going down the witch's road to find Tommy if he's gonna be like, oh, but Wanda isn't my mom. But maybe
Right.
maybe also because Wanda killed all those people and in that area and caused all that trauma.
Maybe she also feels like she got rid of us or something when she,
Maybe.
I don't know, like, because she ended Westview.
Yeah, maybe
He
there
doesn't
might be
know
something
if
to
she
that.
killed people because he doesn't even know if she's dead for real or not. He had to ask Agatha.
Mm.
True.
So he knows that she murdered.
But when Agatha was walking past Wanda's house, it had like witch on it or like evil witch on it. So I think there is like a negative connotation associated with Wanda. So maybe just that sort of societal thing is permeating his feelings about that. I don't know.
They definitely think he took control of everyone's minds and sucks. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah. That is a thing that's always unclear in Marvel. It's like sometimes it's like they like portray the like fan people that would be like us that like somehow know every single thing that happened, but then sometimes they don't. Because I remember even in his episode when him and his boyfriend are looking it up and they're like, oh no, they cover it up saying it was an Avengers training thing, but actually it was like Wanda's Hex. Yeah, I do, but I am someone who's not close to his siblings, so whenever there's like, no, but it's my brother, I'm like, yeah, but so what? You don't even know them. Who cares? Like, I get very like,
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, but you got your boyfriend, you got your nice parents. That seems nicer. Like,
And he loves his parents. Like in that 3 years, he's clearly
yes,
really bonded with them, and he's rejecting his connection to the Scarlet Witch, even though you would think if he's looking for Tommy that would be his connection. So I guess that's his family. I'm shocked that maybe there's something more to come from him on the Witch's Road. Like at the end, he'll be like, really, this is why I'm on here.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot of the stuff that we are all questioning is probably stuff that most of will be answered. And like this show seems to do a pretty good job of like posing questions and answering them instead of, like I said earlier, instead of like a lot of Marvel stuff where it's like, we're going to answer this later. We're not answering this now, teehee. But like, I think this show, I think like Billy's stuff might be left a little bit up in the air because they want to do Young Avengers and all that. But I do think like for the purposes of the show, he will be at least like, this is his character. We know who he is moving forward. I don't know. I want to talk about, I have to mention this before we move on though. I love that Agatha says the Wicked Witch of the West was based on her. She's on the album. She's like, she was based on me. She's like so dramatic about it.
I do also, while we're on that subject, just they've done some references to like, I mean, obviously outside of the outro as well with the different witches that Disney now has all the rights to. But because even in what would that would have been like the second or third episode, when Patti LuPone's character says, did they just open a stove? I had a friend who fell in through that, and I think that's the witch and Gretchen and what folklore is that? Hansel and Gretel?
Yes. Yeah, you're right.
Okay, there we go. But yeah, so like they've done some little stuff like that, and I think that that's really, since this whole thing is supposed to sort of be like a celebration of like witches lore, and like it's been really cool. Like when you pay really close attention to the dialogue, like they're taking good care with it. So
no, I agree, and I kind of love that, and that's in that same episode. That's when Patti LuPone, or no, it's the second episode when Patti LuPone blames Agatha for all like the negative witch stereotypes. And I love that she stays on that beat when she's like, we don't fly brooms because it's a trope and it is showing that women are like submit. Like I love that she is like this reminds me of like an old lady you'd meet in New York who's like very progressive. It doesn't take bullshit, but is like also like, leave me alone. Like
honestly, saying that, I'm convinced they didn't even ask Patty to.
Right.
They instantly was like, oh, we need a We need like a New Yorker woman who would get Patty on the phone, see what she's doing.
Yeah.
Let's-
Like, oh yeah, she'll do it. Just play yourself. It's fine. So we see Jennifer and I keep wanting to say Patty as well. We see Jennifer and Lilia, and they're like underneath. We kind of get like a fill in of like where they went. They're underneath. This is when we start to get the filling in of Patty LaPone's character. Lilia's like we see, I forget, Jen calls her like Wispy or something, and we see the first flash we see where it like fills in is like when she's like, no, don't save Agatha. And that's another reveal. I had seen people theorizing this on Twitter everywhere saying
they were crazy.
And then we got it, and I was still like,
calm down with the theories, guys. Like, it's too, come on.
You and I are like, get a life, nerds. And then we're like, oh my God. But like, even having read that, and I was just like, I don't know about that. Like, seeing this, I was like, gooped. I was like, fuck, oh my God. Like, and it's, I don't know, it's not anything. The thing Jack Schaefer does so well is like, okay, it's not really that wild, right? Like, it's like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But I still felt like shook. I don't know. I just, so good. And I love the way they kind of, in all those flashes, they like blurred around her. So it was like, you're like focusing on her face. I love that.
Editing is, I think, what contributed to that entire feeling is like that whole sequence was, and all of the sequences where she's like going through time. Excellent.
And we like end that one on little girl Lilia, which what'd you say?
I don't get what the little girl means. It was, she was like, I've experienced my life out of sequence. And I think we've seen just over the course of the multiverse saga, so much explorations of like time. So now I'm like, does that mean like all of this is a vision and like she could come back later? Maybe I'm delusional. I just want her to come back. But like, it felt like she was restarting with that vision and like that awareness.
I don't think you're wrong though, because I saw someone said this and I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that. That Lilia's like, when she calls you a coward, hit the deck. How the hell would, if Lilia is dead, like, how would she have seen it?
I didn't even think about that. Thank you. Exactly. And then she ends and she's back to where she is. And she's learned so much about not isolating herself. It just doesn't make sense for this to be the end of her arc, at least from my perspective.
Yeah, I think all those lovely ladies are coming back for the last episode.
I think,
I mean,
like,
she told, this goes back to like, she told Jen, you're the path ahead, the path forward. So like, that's why I'm like, path forward really to what? To, you know, so it's just, and then High Priestess is supposed to be the leader of a coven. So if she's the path forward for the coven, then it just makes sense that somehow, like, she has to be how, if she's how the coven is going to move forward, that means she has to be how the coven would exist essentially again. Because there has to be a coven. Because Patty's was very adamant, like, nah, you gotta go. Because it all depends on you next. I also love, I just love having that like point to go back to as almost like the, like, I don't know, the through line is like her as a kid going back to her mom. I thought that was like really sweet. I liked that the mom kind of knew, and like, because the mom's a witch as well. And so the mom's like, oh yeah, for me, it's only been, hasn't been that long. Oh, blah, blah, blah. And so going into Avengers Endgame, I gotta say, I kept thinking like, well, I know Chris Evans and Robert Downey Jr., like, their contracts are done. They're not coming back. Well, Robert Downey Jr. is technically.
Well, at the time I was saying that. But I remember like my like thing I wanted was, well, if they gotta die, I hope Steve Rogers, like, when he passes, we see him meet up with Peggy again, because that's all I wanted. And I mean, really? That like happened.
You are the opposite of me, Ian. We never discussed this before. That's crazy.
And like,
I was like, he made over her like niece or whatever. I hope he finds happiness with a hobby.
I don't know. It just gave obsessive over your first crush. Like, I don't, like people who like.
Yeah, it felt deeply unsafe for.
Okay. but she in the show was also always bringing. So it was like for me, it was like, oh, this is like a mutual, like, ooh, we're so in love, we're like obsessed.
He even went on a first date yet at the point where he dies.
That is true.
And how MCU needed, like, hey, these were the longest running actors we had. It's time for them to move on and have other lives and do other things. Like, it made sense. They didn't want to kill them both, so they were like, all right, Tony's dying, and Steve is gonna, go get married to that girl from the first movie. It worked. It worked in theme.
And yeah, I guess.
Rude. We will not have Peggy Carter slander. That's like one of the main things I hated.
Dude, I'm okay with Peggy. It's just like,
that was like, I did not get over her being like, I could do this all day and then getting sliced fucking in half. I was like, are you fucking?
I think that's really also what's done it, is that at this point now she's just Captain Carter all the time. So it's like,
yeah.
Okay.
Joe, what's your opinion on Peggy Carter?
I love Peggy Carter. I like her. I think maybe the Marvel Story Group haven't done the best job of utilizing the character, but I do like her as a character. And I like that they ended up together because I think he was always holding that candle for Peggy, and I think they did a pretty good job of displaying that throughout the series, even though he did make out with her granddaughter or whatever, which is a little weird.
I don't know that I'd move past that.
Because okay, yeah, no.
I'm sorry. I just don't think he'd ever leave Bucky, but
I know. I mean, obviously, for me, they were Endgame. I want
back in time to see past Steve Rogers. He didn't say, he didn't say shit about Peggy. He said Bucky's alive.
Yeah, because he wanted that icy Russian penis, and
don't we all? But still, it's like
moment where it's like I forget but he's
even
like,
I just look, that's just my thing. I feel anyways. Anyway, that's just
and we don't know. They might have taken more than just that arm and replaced it with a mechanical device. I want to find out, and I think we should explore that.
I would also like to find that out. So, getting back to, I almost said getting back to
right, the show.
Getting back to Agatha All Along, yes.
What show?
God, what are we talking about? Where are we?
Lilia, child Lilia. We were talking.
Right. And then so we get more of her and Jen. And I saw some people talking about this. I kind of was like, oh, well, they're witches, but this episode did make me think a little differently. I loved their chemistry was also really great. And this is another thing that shows, like, with a great ensemble, I love when we compare different characters together and they still like really work. And this really worked. I liked seeing Jen's care with her. I liked Lilia trusting her. I did kind of think, wait, but in episode 5, we didn't seem to like each other that much. Like, by the end of the episode, when like Alice dies, they're like, oh, that sucked. All right. Like, they kind of were like,
well, when they're at the like campfire or whatever, Lilia has a vision or whatever, and Jen is like, Lilia, where do you go? So I feel like they were like slow rolling this like interest in a deeper look at like what's going on with you. So it felt like a good payoff in that sense. It didn't feel like they really liked each other, especially like I do feel like they papered over like Wiccan just like through all of them, and then they were just like whatever. That's a little perplexing, but I think overall like it's clear they have some type of bond, and I hope that like in the next 2 episodes some kind of payoff to show that they actually have some care, because they really turn on Agatha like in her trials. So it's like, what do you have care? You guys just had like that little bonding moment around the fire, and then it was
what if that bonding moment around the fire is actually like Lilia saying that, oh, look, we all started out by hating each other, but now we sort of like each other. What if that's later? What if that's her saying that in the final episode and it was, you know what I mean? Like the time jumping thing? Because
you're right, because I didn't really see that like she goes to that vision or whatever, but it doesn't seem like it makes sense in context.
Right, and then it like gets cut off there at the campfire when I watched it back, or was it in this episode or whatever? It's possible that maybe that was like a future vision that she's
okay. So now I'm more dedicated to my theory. I think that when she said you're the path ahead, I'm convinced that Jen somehow brings them all back.
Yeah, I
No,
think so.
that's I'm about to I'm gonna make a TikTok after this. I might be wrong as shit, but no, I've decided now. No, no,
Yeah.
Agatha's gonna be fighting Rio, and while she's doing that, I'm convinced Rio's gonna be going after Billy. Agatha's gonna be fighting Rio, trying to protect Billy, and while they're doing that, Jen's gonna be over there like, I gotta get the Coven, and they're gonna figure it out, and then the Coven's gonna come back, and that's when she's gonna know to tell. That's why she was there, and she knows to tell Agatha to hit the deck when she calls her a coward. Because when that happens, she doesn't know that the rest of the Coven is going to be back. I'm convinced.
Yep.
No, this is my theory. This is my conspiracy theory. And I put $20 on it because that's all I can afford to lose.
I think we solved it. I agree with Ashley. Ashley's correct in everything, and I can't wait to watch and like that TikTok later.
Watch us be back here next week. Like, well, guys, we don't know.
Because I do think Alice and Lilia are dead, only because I don't know. I feel like Lilia, this was such a. I do hate when people say this, but I'm gonna say it. I do feel like it would undermine the episode almost, like the beauty of it's like the closure and like she died being like, okay, I know who I am. I'm comfortable with my coven. I'm at peace. I'm good. Stay blessed. And
I think they're coming back, bestie. This whole show's been about the importance of the coven. Gabby.
She just got comfortable being in a coven. Her mom was like, you're still not good with your coven. And she's like, no, I think I should be alone. And she learns that by the end of the episode. Just to die is crazy. Like, she doesn't even get to spend time with the coven like that. And I don't think 8 or 9 episodes is enough, like, to satisfyingly be like, oh yeah, we really get along as a coven now, which is like what they're doing right now.
Right.
Confusing.
Fair. I do have a question for the class. So, they eventually meet up. Everyone's in the castle. I still am unclear. I got that she was reading the tarot cards. I did not understand, what was the trial? I don't understand what it was that had to be done.
She had to read the right fortune, and it was her own.
Yeah. Like, at first, Agatha's whole point was like, this is just bullshit. It's random. We can put any card.
Yeah.
And then Lilia proves at the end that there's some kind of fate aspect to the divination.
I think what it was is it really came. So every trial has had to do with some part that they've either dismissed about themselves, ignored. So with Alice, it was the curse. Like, you have this curse. Like, I didn't think it was real, but you need to actually figure out how to get rid of this curse. With Jen, it was on some level this idea that she is magicless, powerless because her magic was bound, but it's actually you can still do a lot, even though I'm starting to get theories that maybe she's not bound or something like that, but still, that was hers. Agatha's having to deal with her past. So I feel like we've watched Patti LuPone's. I'm so sorry, Patti. I refuse to call you by your character's name. You're too iconic. I'm just I can't see your face and not call you what it.
Right.
But we've seen her struggling with these visions the entire arc, the entire series. And for the first time, we see her finally being able to put the pieces together. And it was when it was time to figure out what the coven means. We saw her, each card representing someone in this coven and things like that. So it seems like her trial was, instead of seeing the pieces there, was making them fit. Because when it came down to it, she knew Jen was the path forward. She knew that Rio was deaf. She knew Agatha was going to be in some sort of combat that was going to mean hit the deck. It seemed like it was about it all coming together and that bringing some sense of peace, where she's now back in this moment in her childhood, where maybe things made a lot more sense to her when she was first starting out with her powers, before she was 300 whatever years old. And now she's getting these random, I don't want to say psychotic moments, but sort of when you have too much wisdom in your head and now it's making you lose your sanity. So that's the way that I saw it in terms of you as the divination witch, you need to be able to finally put the pieces together. That's how I saw it.
We saw at first, Agatha and Billy are putting cards down, and as they're doing that, they're trying to get, not really Agatha, right? But Billy's I know that we have to be real about this. So he keeps trying to dig and dig. He's like, am I Billy or am I William? He's trying, but But it's only when Lilia like steps up and is like, no, I'm the one who's supposed to read and get vulnerable. And it's still vulnerable for everyone else, but it's her running the show that I feel like they unlock the trial, the answer to the trial.
All right. All right. I can buy that. I guess that leads us into discussing the death reveal. You know, what did we all
Bad boys.
I fucking loved the look, and I feel like Aubrey Plaza probably loved it. I feel like Aubrey Plaza was probably like, oh, that's how I get. Yeah, fuck yeah, I'm gonna do that. Like, because I've seen so many interviews where she's like, I don't really care about Marvel, but like this seemed really cool. And I feel like this must have been what sold her on it. Like this, and then like her co-stars. Because I don't know. I love it. I'm like excited to see her in action in that. It almost looked Dia de los Muertos. It almost looked a little bit like that, which like she is Latina, so it's like okay, like that's like and like I don't know, I want to see the full thing. Like I want to see like zoom out, give me good lighting. I want to see it all. Like
so interesting that they have introduced death because in the comics, the whole reason Thanos does that because of death, right? And I thought that was so cool. Like I found that out after like Infinity War and Endgame, but I was like, wow, what a missed opportunity. I would have loved to see like
Thanos. It would have been cool, yeah.
But now it's kind of like they're setting up that Agatha was that puppet that she was getting bodies for death. And I'm really into that too. Like if it's gonna be gay instead, I'm fine with that.
Right? Yeah, like oh, take that, but make it
always.
gay. Fucking sure. Also, Gabby, I had to explain to my friend Kirsten, we were texting and I was like, so in the comics, Thanos is actually in love. And I'm like explaining this and I'm like, I realize how ridiculous this sounds. Like
I'm drinking the Kool-Aid.
I feel like anytime I have to explain comics lore to someone who did not read comics, I'm like, I know this sounds stupid, but it's like fun in the comics. And like even me, I have to get a lot of like explaining from like Ashley or like Brett White, who co-hosts as well. Like a lot of y'all, I'm like, I am not clear on what happened. Like I tried to explain Wiccan's origin to someone, and I was like, it gets a little messy in the middle there.
Yeah, I like how they did it this time. Someone that I was texting who doesn't know the comics was like, oh, I didn't really like the Wiccan origin because I don't get like that's so many layers. I was like, oh, it was worse in the comics, babe.
Yeah.
That's
like,
why.
Way worse. Yeah. Joe, what'd you think of Aubrey Plaza's death reveal?
Oh, I thought she looked amazing, and I thought like even under all the prosthetics and the makeup, I was like, that's just Aubrey Plaza having a good day.
Yeah.
Like I could just tell she was just smiling under it. She was living it. She was excited to be there. She was ready for that. I'm excited to see, like you said, a little bit of a clearer image of her, which I think we will hopefully in one of the next episodes. And I'm excited to see whatever sort of powers that she manifests in that form. I hope we get to see that. Aubrey Plaza was just having a great day. She was happy to be there. She wrote about it in her diary that night. I think she was just playing up Aubrey Plaza. I don't think she was even acting at that point. She was just like, here, ready. She didn't even have a costume. She's like, I brought this from home.
As one of the entities that was shown in Thor: Love and Thunder, like the Watcher can see everything. The Living Tribunal, I don't know what they do, but we know that they exist. I'm confused how Death has the time for a side quest.
That is a good point.
They're all like important. They have a job. I'm sure she has a job, right? That's the whole reason her and Agatha are beefing. And then she's just on the witch's road with them for a bit. I'm gonna need that part explained, but I trust Jack Schaefer for sure.
I like that she has a job, like she's employed.
She is, and she's just like, oh, I'm gonna walk around with you. She's like skipping on the road, looking around, taking her time.
This is gonna be, I don't know if any of you, American Dad is something I love when I'm stoned. It's like a very good background show.
Same.
I'm thinking of Roger the Alien, how like that's always the joke where it's like, how did you have time to be married to this and have a whole like, how do you're here all the time? And he's just like, oh, I made time. Like, and that's just always the reason. Like, one of my favorite bits of that is when I forget where they're like, they go to some, I think like Francine finds family members and they go to that family's like compound mansion, and Roger is the cat. And Haley's like, this seems really like complicated. He's like, it's my easiest alter ego. I just chop up my poops in the litter box and that's it. Like, and he like really gets into being a cat. That's what I'm thinking, because I could see Rio just being like, because she's just Aubrey Plaza, like just being like, oh, I just have fun doing this. I'm everywhere at the same time. So sure, like, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, death would have to be, people are dying all the
True.
time.
I guess that's also
everywhere.
True. So Lilia, oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Well, because I think in the comics, a lot of people critique the fact that she's like a humanoid creature, even though she services the entire universe that has a variety. Like, she's hanging out with Thanos and is not looking like a deviant or whatever he's supposed to be. So I'm a little confused on why she's a human. Maybe that's just how she shows up for Agatha. I'd love to see that explained.
Because doesn't death sometimes in the comics, it's like sometimes it's a skeleton face, sometimes it's a human face, right?
Mm-hmm.
But Gabby, you saying that as a kid, this is so fucking nerdy. As a kid, I would always think, well, like Klingons speak Klingon, but wouldn't there be different versions of Klingon since it's like a planet? And like on our planet, we speak a bunch of different languages. So like, don't these aliens all have like 85 different languages each?
That's not nerdy. That's something that all normal people thought about and still think about as an adult.
I have never thought about that. My mind is blown. They are all speaking one language on one planet.
Right? Like, I remember asking my dad that once when we watched Star Trek, and him being like, I don't know, Ian. Like, I was just like, but why?
Well, maybe all their differences got homogenized over time because they are a very advanced species. They have space flight and everything. So that insinuates that they've been a civilization for a very long time. Maybe over time they lost those other languages and they merged into one.
Mr. Organa, I have a Star Wars question. In Star Wars, isn't it like that they have a thing where like it just translates the language for them?
Yes, they have a universal translator. But there are many languages in Star Wars. They have Basic, which is like kind of their English, which most of the universe speaks. But there are many different languages. And Star Wars gets real crazy because if you go deep enough, there are different languages and different cultures on the same planet, and the same species have like different sects and different tribes and different. So if you really want to get into Star Wars talk, we can get into Star Wars talk, but we don't have the time. We don't have the time or the budget.
That'll be our next recording.
Oh God, we don't want to piss off all of Star Wars Twitter, do we?
I was gonna say where every comment will be like calling me the F slur.
No, it's lethal. It's lethal. It's lethal, and I've been on the front lines for many years.
God. So Lilia comes in, she does the reading. It's correct. It's beautiful, fitting everything into place. Have you all seen the movie Big Fish?
Yes.
I love that movie. That ending is one of my favorite endings. I love everything comes together. So like some of my favorite endings, Big Fish, Cruel Intentions, where it's like she really fucking gets it. And like it's like all the stuff she said is in there and like really like is her comeuppance. It's like a comeuppance of things fall into place. I'm trying to think of other endings.
If you watch Cruel Intentions, great. Because my girlfriend was like, I've never watched Cruel Intentions. I almost passed out. I know.
Oh my God, it's so good. Sarah Michelle Gellar is like having a blast doing that role. She's like, oh, I'm a superhero every other week, but this I get to be like this like vicious, like coke addict. Like, great, give me more. I get to say I want to fuck all the time. Great. So this we get like everything's falling into place, and we get the reverse tower, which that did not hit me until we literally saw Lilia falling in slow motion. And I think like I like that she earlier was like, what am I wearing? This is humiliating. And she like hated it. But like that big pink poofy like really lent itself to a good visual of like
someone falling. Yeah.
Right. Like I was like, this is beautiful. Like, fuck.
She's she's alive is how I choose to see it. And also on the tower card, when it's reversed, right? You see those two people who are falling are now like just in the air, which is like a good representation of like Billy and Tommy, right? So
That's
I'm like,
true.
maybe the tower is not meant to represent her fall because she didn't die. It's meant to represent reversed. Billy and Tommy are just like in the ether, and one of them found a body, and now he needs to get a body for the other one.
He's gonna take Lilia's body.
Hmm.
The teen boy come back as an old lady.
Wait, if Patty LuPone stays in the MCU
As
Tom,
please, I would be mad at, oh, that would be amazing.
10 out of 10.
So then we end on, I forget the name of the song. It's the Jim Croce song. I forget the name of the song. Do any of you remember? No.
I know. I was trying to. I've never. I don't think I've. I'm not sure I've heard the song like that before because I know that so far every episode they've been ending the episode with something related to what just happened.
So, the end credits is like the song from
Days of Future Past. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quicksilver runs to that song. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, that's the name of the song. I could not remember the name of the song. But even that, like, that's not like a song I love, but even the song, like, I was like, like crying over the credits listening to this fucking song. Yeah, I just, the imagery in this one was just, and like, even the image before she falls, when she's like, the like way the camera angle is where she's just looking up hanging and we get like everything else is like out of focus. She's perfectly in focus. And then her hand just kind of like, I'm getting the chills.
Maybe because she has run into death so many times through her divination, death is like, I don't really want to do this. If you want to keep living, I'll let you rock.
Like, we're cool. Because
she doesn't sound like Rio.
It does not. But she does say, like, don't you remember me? As if, like, we've seen each other so many times. Like, what do you mean you don't know me? Like, you know me. I'm your friend, Death. Yeah, we're at the end. What was your favorite scene, Joe?
Oh my gosh, my favorite scene. It's hard to pick from this one especially because we go back and forth with this scene. I think the ending, I think the acting was so incredible by Patti LuPone. I think it was so beautiful. I think everything coming together felt like such a beautiful moment for this entire series because it's been such a clue fest that seeing so much of it come together and be so beautiful and like so sad, but like also happy because it was kind of like her fulfilling her destiny and like conquering her fear, which, in that first or second episode when they were in the that big beach house, Lilia's fear that she was put up against was death, and so I think it was really a beautiful, such a important scene, and it means so much the more you think about it, and the more you go back and look at scenes that led up to it. So for me, it was that scene.
Yeah, Gabby.
Wow, this was such a good episode. This is a hard question.
It is, yes.
I'm gonna say, I guess when she's putting on the cards and everything is coming together, but I also really loved when she's mad at Wiccan and he's like reading her mind and he goes, no, of course, if I knew I had the power, I would save Alice.
Yeah, I did like that. Yeah. Ashley?
I know everyone just kept saying this is hard because it's just like, it's one of those things. I don't know if there's really we've had these episodes where it's like there's this standout scene. This was more so very cohesive where like, it wasn't one standout. It was really, I feel iffy saying there's no standout scene because I know that sounds bad, but what I mean by that is just that like everything was, so it's very, very hard. I mean, in terms of just beauty, watching her fall, as sad as it was, I mean, that's just how cohesive the episode was. Like
I agree.
We started off seeing her fall, and when we see her at the end of the episode hanging on, we know where, like, we were, the whole episode started with why is she falling, and now here we are to all these puzzles that we got introduced to through this 45-minute show, and like now they all put together and we're back to where we were in the beginning, but now we know why this is about to be a thing where she falls. So it's like, I guess that one thing, other than that, her moment, I loved being a witch. that leads to that as
yes,
well.
I forgot to mention that, but yes.
So beautiful, yeah.
I guess it counts because it's all still technically the same scene, but I will put that in there just to expand on it a little bit, just because like she still sees her duty to this coven. Like, one, I'm giving you a head start, and then two, I'm going to take out as many of these people as I can. And then again, it brings us back to the beginning of this scene where it's like, we know these things don't make sense to her. Now that it does, it's like, all right, I'm about to get out of here. And she's at peace with it. And also, I think there is a part of her being more at peace with it because she's found her coven, because she's accepted her coven, and because she's about to do this thing specifically for them. And I'm happy that they ended it with, instead of her, you know, landing on one of the swords like the Salem 7, it was her where her mind had been taken her, where things made sense for her throughout the episode.
Yeah. I'm gonna cry,
so,
you just describing it.
So the way that whole build up was really, that would be my.
Yeah, and like, I mean, to your point, Gabby, I'm glad we did not see her. I did not want to see that body, like this like older, like sweet lady, like getting.
It wouldn't have worked with the theme. It was like we needed to see that for the Salem 7.
Right, yeah.
You know, and it was on brand with the theme of them, you know, gruesome. For her, I think it basically came down, it was very much in theme with the fact that like she quite literally has these out-of-body experiences.
Yeah.
So it's like, even though we know what's happening physically, it would make sense that as the divination witch, that when that moment happens, she would be where her mind has always taken her. I mean, to an extent, she's kind of been able to talk to people who are on the other side anyway. So it's like, now you're able to sit there personally.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I do think editing wise, they could have figured out a way where she dies, but like it's still like really gracefully falling or something, and they show us the body. So that's why my delusional ass is still gonna believe that she's alive. And also, she's Glinda in this episode, and Glinda has that like bubble thing that like carries her places.
That's true.
I don't have a
I'm Delulu, but I'm Delulu in the sense that I think that there's a way she's going to come back. I do think Sis is dead, but I think
okay.
But I don't think she'll stay dead. I am willing to be Delulu to that extent. But I do think Sis is no longer with us anymore. I think mom is gone.
Yeah.
All of you mentioned like it's like the last 10 minutes, but actually like really it's like there's not a standout scene, complimentary, because it really is like it just all flows so perfectly. I love the Jen and Lilia stuff. I love the Agatha and Wigan stuff. Like all of it is good.
They're also not giving us long enough episodes to have a favorite scene. What's a favorite scene in a 26-minute episode?
It is like, if I had a critique, I guess that I'm like, give me hour-long episodes. Like I could.
Yeah. I can't believe it was only 26 minutes. It felt like so much happened in that.
There's no way. That episode was 26 minutes.
Yes.
Counting credits.
You hear me earlier when I was like 45-minute episode? I was convinced.
Me too.
But 26 minutes? Maybe it's also because I have commercials on my Disney Plus, because I was like, y'all wild with these prices. We gotta figure out something to do. But 26 minutes? Oh, that's crazy. If you had legitimately asked me 10 minutes ago how long this episode was, I would have said 45 minutes. That's wild crazy.
I agree they did great with the time compared to like the last episode that's 26 minutes. I was like, it felt like a 26 This, I was like so moved by it. I was astonished at what they were able to accomplish.
No, I agree. What was your favorite outfit for this episode, Gabby?
Wow. So it's gonna have to be teen. And when he's like, well, if you got the cheekbones to match, I was like, okay, period, honey, thank you.
I love that they put him in that outfit, but made him acknowledge, like, I look pretty good. Like, I love that.
I also love the theme of like, because he's Maleficent, which Disney has done like a retcon prequel, being like, actually, she's a misunderstood person. And then Agatha is Elphaba, who also has a prequel that's like, I'm actually misunderstood. And then the cards that they put is like very suggesting that they're misunderstood characters and that they're going to have like a moment. So I was like, maybe I really like these outfits for like what they seem to suggest, what they might mean.
That's fair. Yeah. Joe?
Yeah, no, it was teen, but I think all of the outfits are great. This entire show, you talked about Big Fish before, but this entire show was very uh, uh Wizard of Oz referencing,
Yeah, yeah.
which show was
Yellow,
Big Fish.
Yellow Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, the road, the journey, like in Wizard of Oz, they hit different points and they have sort of trials to get that new person aboard. And it's sort of like it's a similar situation like the Tin Man, that she meets the Scarecrow, et cetera, et cetera. It's very similar to that. And so I love that they referenced that in the costumes. But yeah, no, Teen looked great. I love that Jen's outfit was like the haggard version of what was the Evil Queen, because the Evil Queen is so obsessed with her beauty. And Jen,
Is
although
that
they
who
are
she
all
was?
yeah, she was like because she had the
And she
apple.
wears the apple and she's like
Yeah,
ugly and like she's like
Oh yeah, the from Snow White.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Because Jen is, they're
Wait,
all
is that Snow
beautiful,
White?
but yeah,
That's
Snow
Snow
White.
White?
Yeah,
Okay. Like I'm
'Cause-
getting all my folklore mixed up. Oh my God, we got Hansel and Gretel over here. We got like, goodness, let me go get a book of fables, child.
yeah, they reference so many, witches in history. It was such a great show. It's been such a great show. I'm excited for the next two episodes.
I love that they made her hair that's gray dreads, period.
Yeah.
Or maybe I don't remember, but like instead of just giving her a gray wig, period.
Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
And she's like, they were like, "What are you wearing?" She's like, "I don't want to talk about it."
She's like, we'll be like offended later. Like, we gotta keep
Yeah.
moving. Ashley, what was your favorite outfit?
Well, of course, Lady Death's reveal. We didn't get the full, we'll get the big one at the end, but I do like the bit of a modern look that we're getting. It looked like there was a bit of like a cropped, like you could see some skin, I think. Let me see. Yeah, I think like it was giving 2024 compared to like the comics version where she's just the long
Yeah, like potato
sort of
sack.
so yeah. And of course the makeup on Aubrey Plaza and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then the knife that we've seen her have, that we saw her with, multiple episodes. Like, why is this her go-to? And now we see it and how it plays with the outfit as well. So yeah, I'd have to give it to that reveal that I feel is going to play a bigger part in what comes next. So yeah, I will give a nod to a very short cameo that's obviously going to be a big deal in a week.
Same. Same. I loved all the outfits. I thought everyone looked good in their like silly witch outfit, but I think the death had me gooped. I love the like skeleton face. Oh, everyone's shocked. Ian liked the skeleton outfit with the black. But what do we want to see in the finale? Going into the finale, we only have one more week left. We have 2 episodes, but 1 week. Joe, what would you like to see in the finale?
Oh gosh, Henry Cavill oiled up. I don't know. What do I want to see? I want to see a satisfying ending. I want to see maybe a reference that we're gonna get more of Billy's story. I want to see Agatha have a good redemption arc, but a believable one. I don't want her to be like a
Yes.
good guy. You know what I mean? I want her to still be the anti-hero, but I want her to be dimensional as a character. So I want to see that sort of satisfying ending.
Yeah, that's fair. Gabby?
I want to see my Coven back. That's
Fair.
like pretty much it. Like definitely Alice. It felt so unfair that she finally gets the weight off her and like she describes like I feel lighter and then she dies. Unacceptable.
Fair. Ashley?
It's like they've done such a good job with these deaths, as sad as they've been, that it's like, even though I'm sort of like Gabby, where it's like I would love that in the whole, my theory now that Jen somehow brings them back because she's the path forward. If we don't get them back, I also think that their stories were done well. I mean, I think that is one of the things about these shows that make them great, is like, as much as you kind of get to that place of like, I don't ever want to lose these characters, but that's also one of the things that has kind of damaged the MCU so terribly, is just like,
That's true, yeah.
no one can let anything go, hence why we got a certain actor coming back to it. But I'd say that to say that it would be great if it all plays out that this happens, but I'm okay with it doesn't. I do, it's crazy because Thanos' real motive was trying to impress Lady Death. And it's just crazy that it ended up being Miss Plaza, because it's like that would have actually made more sense to me. I too would, try to get rid of half our planet if she wanted me to. So it's like on that same regard, even though I don't want this to be a whole, this has to connect to this thing in the MCU thing, I understand this is a limited series. I think it should be a limited series, but that doesn't mean I want these character stories to like end here. Like I almost don't want us to get Billy's brother here because it's like, don't introduce me to him. And then it's like, all right, see you when we see you. It's like, bitch, no.
3 years,
so, exactly. And so it's like, I really don't know. I just want a good character arc that doesn't necessarily end with like everybody dies, but Agatha and Billy are still standing. Like, it's like, I want there to be some possibilities story-wise. I don't just mean I want to keep all these characters and nothing bad happens to them. I just mean like, let's have some possibilities for some stories, because I think that this allowed us to do some things in the MCU that like didn't have to play into the bigger story. And that's what allowed it to be so good compared to some other stuff that's coming out right now. So it's like, I just want a well-rounded character arc that leaves room for possibility, but isn't just, we need a sequel to the sequel to the MCU has to keep the machine going.
That's fair. Yeah.
That's a bit of a cop-out answer, but it is technically what I would like.
That's fair. Yeah, I think I just want like, I want some like fill-in flashback. I keep thinking of Agatha, like what she was doing. Like because they say she like kept going in and out, right? They're like, oh, sometimes you're just like this. I kind of want to see some like other flashback of like the town's point. Like I loved when we got like the IRL point of view of like, she had a fucking hose as a gun. But I would love to see more of that from the Westview people point of view. And like, I don't know, like I feel like that could be really goofy and fun. That's what I've been thinking about lately. But if you ask me in an hour, it might be something different.
One more thing.
Something that
I would also like something Nicholas Scratch.
Oh, yeah, that makes sense.
Played around with this name, and it's just at this point, for anyone who's only watching these adaptations, it's just a name at this point. And so it's like, what's really going on there? Is he so if we could get something, I'm not saying he has to pop up somewhere, because if it's the last 2 episodes, like don't give me something for 20 minutes, but like something there, especially because he's supposed to be the Salem 7's father, and now at least a number of them are dead. So
something like what you said earlier made me think of is like, I would love something from Aubrey Plaza where she's kind of like, for a little bit, I got a whole bunch of bodies and then somebody undid it all. So now I need to make up a quota or something. I think that would be a cool way. And I'm sure that in the last 2 episodes, they're going to want to connect it to the wider MCU. So if that connection is just Aubrey Plaza being like, damn, I really lost a bunch of bodies recently, that would be fun.
I could be into that. Thank you all for joining me. I've had so much fun covering the show that I'm like bummed next week is the last week, because like this has been so fun to watch and cover. And like, I do feel like, Ashley, we've covered a lot of Marvel shows together.
This is the most fun for sure.
I mean, it's full circle. You found me when WandaVision was airing, and here we are.
Here we are this many years later. You're stuck with me, Ashley. But thank you all for joining me. So I haven't put them up yet because this lady has been overwhelmed all week. But on our Etsy shop, and maybe when this is up, you can get our new Agatha pin by Terry Glass. The pins came in before the stickers. I was like, what do I do with that? The stickers might not come in until like Halloween. So I'm like, I'll just put the pins up. There's a sticker set coming. Blah. And subscribe to our Patreon, where we're going through Buffy for season 4 for its 25th anniversary, and Batman the Animated Series, X-Men the Animated Series. We do watch-alongs, we do Zoom hangouts. I have my sex and relationship talk show with Zachary Patton Garcia called My Nudie Judy. And any support is much appreciated. Joe, where can everyone find you? Wait, before I get to you. And you can follow us on social at SlayerFestX98. Joe, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Joe Organa on Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, etc., etc. Anywhere you can follow people, that's where I am, at Joe Organa.
And Gabby, where can everyone find you?
I'm at Gabalexa on all platforms, and my website is just gabalexa.com.
And Ashley?
Ashley K. Smalls, basically everywhere.
All right, well, thank you all, and we'll see you next time. Bye.